Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to all joining us from the different parts of the world. It is my pleasure to receive you to this webinar today, titled Expanding Social Protection Through Policy Integration, Strategic Financing, and Enhanced Collaboration, Progress on the Global Accelerator on Jobs and Social Protection for Just Transitions. My name is André Bongestamps. I'm a specialist on financing social protection for just transitions, and I'm also a member of the technical facility of the Global Accelerator. This event is co-organized by the Technical Support Facility of the Global Accelerator on Jobs and Social Protection for Just Transitions, together with pathfinder countries, governments, and the joint SDG Fund. We're delighted to have you all with us today on this event. The aim of the webinar is to provide an update on the wider social protection community and beyond on the implementation of the Global Accelerator on Jobs and Social Protection for Just Transitions, and in particular, how this initiative has contributed to progress the extension of social protection. This means that we are trying to look at the Global Accelerator from the perspective of extending social protection and asking the questions: how can social protection be extended through the integration with skills and employment policies? How can social protection be extended through integrated financing and through multi-stakeholder collaboration? Before we jump into the webinar itself, let us go through some ground rules and essentials of the webinar. First and foremost, this session is being recorded, and alongside with this presentation, we will send the recording to all participants and registrants after the session. There is AI-generated automatic captions in the Zoom function, so you can click on the closed caption button of Zoom, and you should have the write-up of the session. You can use the chat box to introduce yourself and make comments and share useful links and resources to all participants. And we will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentations of our speakers, but don't wait until the end of the presentations for your questions. You can already start, if something comes to mind, please place your questions in the chat box and the Q&A box, and we can take up your questions once we reach the Q&A session. So I'll run very quickly through our agenda. We will have today 6 speakers with us, giving us the opening remarks and telling us a little bit more about the Global Accelerator on Jobs and Social Protection for Just Transitions will be Valerie Schmidt, the Deputy Director of the Universal Social Protection Department of the International Labour Organization. And we will have 5 speakers from pathfinder countries from the Global Accelerator. First will be Mr. Arthur Ntandika, Commissioner for Workers' Compensation Department in Malawi. We will have Mr. Khurshid Zafari, Director of the Social Policy Lab, National Agency for Social Protection from Uzbekistan. We will have Mr. Nazar Ali, Secretary General from the Employers Federation of Pakistan. Mr. Mahongora Kavihuha, Secretary General from the Trade Union Congress of Namibia. And Mr. Serafin Gasor, Executive Secretary of the Inspire Zamuka Network from Rwanda. Before we go into our speakers, we would like to help our presenters by giving us a taste of what are you interested more to listen and to learn more about in our session today. So from the 3 pillars of the Global Accelerator, which are you most interested about? Is it integrated policies, integrated financing, or multi-stakeholder collaboration? We will ask you to please answer the poll that will appear on your screen in a second. You can select once the poll comes to the screen. you can select which of the 3 pillars you would like to listen the most during our presentations today. If the poll can be placed in the screen, please. Colleagues? Okay. We'll give you a few seconds to place your vote. All right. I think we can perhaps give you 10 more seconds for the ones that haven't managed to vote yet, and then we can have a quick look at the results before we start. Perhaps you can move to the results now. All right, so we can see a very balanced interest between the 3 pillars, with interest in integrated financing and integrated policies as the two main areas of interest, with multi-stakeholder, multilateral cooperation as the 3rd option. We know cooperation is a lot of work and sometimes is invisible when the job gets done. So it's not a surprise, but we know how important it is. And we'll listen about how our country, pathfinder countries, and our stakeholders engaged in the Global Accelerator are promoting this enhanced collaboration, but also, of course, we'll hear a lot about integrated policies and integrated financing for jobs and social protection. So I will start by inviting our first presenter, and to give the opening remarks, I would like to invite Ms. Valerie Schmidt, Deputy Director of the Universal Social Protection Department at the ILO and member of the Technical Support Facility, to give welcome and opening remarks. Over to you, Valerie.
Thank you, Andre. Thank you, colleagues, and good morning, good afternoon. Thank you for joining this socialprotection.org webinar on the Global Accelerator contribution to universal social protection. I'm currently based in Guinea, one of the 18 pathfinder country of the Global Accelerator, supporting the kickstart of the initiative in this country. So the Global Accelerator was launched in 2021 by the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres to put social protection and decent employment, decent job creation at the heart of economic and social development. So this helps ensure, this initiative helps ensure that major transformations, whether these transformations are economic transformations, such as the agri-food systems transformation, such as industrialization, major transformation in the transport, construction, several sectors, or whether these transformations are related to climate change, energy transition, or to some of the demographic shifts that are happening currently. So really to ensure that these transformations are managed in a way that also benefits people, benefits workers, employers, and the civil society at large. The Global Accelerator is today considered as one of the UN key transformations that will really help achieve the SDGs. So it's one of the 6 key transformations or key initiatives that will help achieve the SDGs. It is also part of the Sevilla Platform for Action. So as many of you know, during the Finance for Development conference in Sevilla in June, July this year, a number of initiatives are part of the Sevilla Platform for Action and are really helping to ensure that the financing for development, some significant progress in the area of financing for development are made. And so the Global Accelerator, thanks to its financing pillar, actually is part of this platform for action. More recently, it was also recognized as a mechanism to support the implementation of the political declaration of the Second World Summit for Social Development, mainly thanks to its policy integration pillar, but not only. So as André mentioned already, the Global Accelerator is not business as usual. It aims to ensure that different pillars of action work in a interlinked and mutually reinforcing manner. So these three pillars are a pillar of policy integration, so ensuring that social protection is not alone, but is linked to other social policies, labor policies, but also macroeconomic policies, a number of policies that really help social protection to become a reality for all. There is a pillar of integrated financing, and we will try to know from the experience in Uzbekistan, in Malawi, in Pakistan, and other countries, in integrated financing, both public finance, also ensuring that investments, both domestic and international investments, also contribute to social development. And to facilitate this policy pillar and the financing pillar, of course, as André mentioned already, there is a need for enhanced multilateral cooperation at government level, at country level, but also within the international community. So as I said already, 18 pathfinder countries have joined the Global Accelerator. This means that they have made a high-level commitment, a high-level political commitment at the level of the head of state or head of government. In the case of Malawi, it was the head of state, or through the coalition of ministers as well, which is the case in the country I am in Guinea, where it was a coalition of the Ministry of Labor and the Minister of Labor and Minister of Planning and Cooperation. And they are committed to using the Global Accelerator to implement their national development strategies and their strategies for this economic and social transformation. So in a world where 3.8 billion people have no access to social protection, are completely excluded, and where 3.3% of national GDPs on average annually are required to close the financing gap for social protection in low and middle income countries, really the Global Accelerator is seen as an initiative that can really effectively contribute to the extension of social protection, both in terms of coverage and in terms of its sustainable financing. One of the reasons for this lack of coverage and insufficient financing for social protection is obviously informality. We all know that to tackle the persistence of informality that many countries, and actually all countries in the Global Accelerator face, we need integrated approaches that support increased productivity, the collection of social security contributions, that need to be adapted to the capacity of payment of workers and enterprises. And we also need workers to have full access to all branches of social security. So not only maternity, not only health, not only pension, but a combination of all these branches to be protected across life. Social protection is also not only a byproduct of decent jobs, decent employment. It's not something that comes only by having a good job, but it also a series of measures, of policies that facilitates access to formal employment. Thanks to its role in providing access to education and quality education, to healthcare as well, and supporting skills development, reskilling, and facilitating access to the labor market, including for women. Also what we know is that in many Pathfinder countries, the Global Accelerator is co-led by several ministries. So not only the ministries of labor and social welfare, but also ministries of economy, planning, and finance are involved in the Global Accelerator, which helps to discuss not only the social policy, what needs to be done, but also how to finance it, how to invest more predominantly in the social sectors, whether it's decent employment, social protection, formalization of enterprises and employment. And so this really helps policymakers that are in charge of the social sectors to have access also to this discussion on financing through the analysis of budgets and their implementation, through the development of new strategies for additional financing, so increasing the fiscal space for social protection. One way of this is the systematic affiliation to national social protection systems, contributory social protection systems of workers and employers in the informal economy, and through ensuring that social protection is also a key element of large investments of governments. And here in Guinea, it's quite interesting because the government has a huge investment portfolio for its development called Simandu 2040, and how to link access to social protection as part of these large investments. This is something that we can do as part of the Global Accelerator. So just to give an example, and that comes from many Pathfinder countries, including Malawi, including Senegal and others, in order to make sure that the agri-food transformation is a success, countries need to first make sure that social protection regimes, social protection systems are established. And second, that as part of the transformation, farmers and their families are automatically affiliated to these social protection mechanisms. So really embedding in the different economic and social transformation access to social protection, this is really something that we are doing as part of the Global Accelerator. And how do we do that? Actually, Pathfinder countries develop their national Global Accelerator roadmaps that build upon the national strategies that are already in place in the country. So the roadmaps are not a new policy or a new strategy. They identify some acceleration points that can be related to some policies that need to be implemented, such as the extension of social protection, the creation of decent jobs, and linking these policies to the investments. So on the basis of these roadmaps, financing strategies and implementation plans are developed. And what also is interesting is that the process of developing the roadmap is not done behind closed doors. It's not done by just one ministry. It's a collaboration between several ministries, several public institutions, the social partners, the civil society who are represented today on this panel. And it also includes the development partners, the UN, the public development banks, and many others. What is super important is that Global Accelerator is really rooted in social dialogue involving workers and employees organizations and civil society as well. So the roadmaps are developed, and then each partner in its own capacity can contribute to the roadmap, either technically or by implementing the policies or by financing the implementation. On development banks in particular, I would like to mention that increasingly, development banks prioritize social investments, whether they prioritize, for instance, policy loans related to social protection, to healthcare, and other social sectors, or whether they, when they prioritize investments in infrastructure, in energy, in transport, and other infrastructures, they try to ensure that these investments also have greater social impact, ensuring that they create decent jobs, that they facilitate access to social protection. So I think this is an area, and we see in Uzbekistan some public development banks like the Asian Development Bank being increasingly interested in this Global Accelerator roadmap as a way really to align their investments to these new government priorities, which is really decent jobs, social protection for just transitions. This week and next week, as many of you know, many of you or your colleagues are meeting in Belém for the COP30 to continue charting the course for a just transition to low carbon economies and societies. As we all know, social protection is key to make this a success, and we are happy, as part of the Global Accelerator, to participate in an event organized by one of our partners, the Agence Française de Développement, so the French Development Agency, that highlights concrete and promising solutions to maximize the environmental and social co-benefits of investments and public spending to achieve a just transition to low carbon economies and societies. So this event, for those who are in Belém, will take place on the 15th of November at 9:30 a.m. in the French pavilion. So to conclude, I hope that really this workshop allows us to better understand, to better know how the Global Accelerator is being implemented in Pathfinder countries, in particular in Malawi and in Uzbekistan. Both countries have finalized their national Global Accelerator roadmaps and are now implementing these roadmaps through policy reforms and investments. This event will also be highly useful to hear from employers and workers organizations' points of view, as well as civil society organizations, to really understand how the Global Accelerator includes them in the development, in the implementation, financing, and monitoring of policy measures, and whether it responds to their needs and really meets their expectations. So thanks again for joining this important event. I'm delighted to be with you during this full hour. And thanks, and back to you, André. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Valerie, for this overview. I think it really sets the scene of the progress that the Global Accelerator has done, the momentum that we're gathering to with our Pathfinder countries, and also the size of the challenge that stands in front of us and how we need to bring together policies through integrated policy approaches. How do we need to bring together integrated financing mechanisms and strategies? And also, of course, the several actors, including the UN system, the resident coordinator system, development banks, donors, but most important of all, the different governments, ministries and agencies, together with workers, employers, organizations, and civil society, to deliver on the high-level commitments of the Global Accelerator. So we also, you also shared a little bit on how the work is being based on the development of roadmaps that that Malawi and Uzbekistan will share a little bit with us today, and share a little bit on how the integration of social protection skills and implement policies are working in reality. But to illustrate this points that Valerie just put forward, we have with us today two representatives from Pathfinder country governments to share with us the progress that they have been doing in their country in extending social protection, particularly as part of the Global Accelerator. So firstly, I would like to invite Mr. Arthur Ntandika, Commissioner of the Workers' Compensation Department in Malawi. Malawi was the first Pathfinder country to join the Global Accelerator. And in Malawi, you already finalized the Global Accelerator National Roadmap and has been endorsed by government. One of the 4 focus areas of the roadmap, meaning one of the key priorities chosen by government, social partners, civil society, and other stakeholders, is enhancing the quality and adequacy of social protection. As part of this, you have been making great strides towards establishing a workers' compensation scheme for work injury, protecting workers in cases of work-related accidents. Could you tell us a little bit more about the workers' compensation scheme, and how do you see this as part of the Global Accelerator? And also, how can this scheme contribute to more decent jobs and ensuring the current ongoing transitions in Malawi are just and inclusive for all Malawi's people? Please, Mr. Arthur, the floor is yours. I think you're still muted, Arthur.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you now. Thank you, Arthur. Over to you.
All right. Thank you, the session chair, my fellow panelists, and distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a great honor to join this distinguished panel at this webinar to showcase how the Global Accelerator initiative is contributed to the progress in extension of social protection in pathfinder countries. Today, it is my pleasure to share how Malawi, under the Global Accelerator on jobs and the social protection for just transitions, is supporting the current reforms of our social protection system, particularly the development of a comprehensive social workers' compensation system, which is aimed at enhancing the quality and coverage of our social protection in Malawi. So I'll start with the ambition of Global Accelerator in Malawi regarding social protection. Our current social protection system is limited in scope and coverage, and it is mainly characterized by social assistance programs, such as our flagship cash transfer programs. There's a climate smart public works program and livelihood program. Contributor social protection systems are still underdeveloped. Only have the pension, the national pension scheme, and also we can consider the employer video workers compensation scheme as a contributor scheme. So the Global Accelerator is supporting the creation of decent jobs and expanding social protection coverage, particularly in the agriculture, tourism, and mining sectors. The GA National Roadmap in Malawi is still under is aimed to use an integrated approach to promote job creation and the social protection coverage expansion. Social protection by key measures in social security reforms include pension reforms and the establishment of a sustainable workers' compensation or working injury scheme, which is a significant step towards achieving a universal social protection system. The reforms are expected to increase the contribution base, improve linkages to formalization policies, and result in benefits such as economic growth, redistribution of wealth, and poverty reduction. So what's the design consideration for the workers' compensation scheme? So the current workers' compensation scheme in Malawi is governed under the Workers' Compensation Act, which is an act of 2000. The act stipulates that it is the employer's liability to pay compensation in the event of death or incapacity due to injury or a scheduled disease. So Malawi does not have an established, well-functioning workers' compensation scheme. So we have the current employer liability workers' compensation system, which lacks the basic characteristics required for adequate protection of injured workers, and it is not aligned to international social security standards. The current workers' compensation scheme reforms are aimed to ensure that the workers' compensation scheme in Malawi is inclusive, efficient, and sustainable. The Global Accelerator initiative is supporting the establishment of the Workers' Compensation Scheme and the amendment of the Workers' Compensation Act so that it should also be in line with international standards. So the key design features in the reforms, which include one, the transitioning from employer liability to social insurance. 2, establishment of a dedicated workers' compensation fund. 3, improvement of scheme administrative efficiency to ensure timely and fair compensation for occupational diseases and injuries. And 4, integrated preventive measures through stronger linkages with occupational safety and health systems. So we need to have linkages with the occupational safety and health systems of Malawi, which includes the occupational safety and health department and also the Ministry of Health in Malawi. So how are we going to finance the scheme? The scheme will be financed through employer contributions, put into a central fund that will be established to manage claims, to ensure financial sustainability, adequacy, and the timeliness of benefits. The risk pooling solidarity approach will enhance sustainability and ensure continuity of compensation, even if individual businesses close. We had an example of when we had a learning visit to Zambia. Their system pays even when the business of the employer who contributes or who contributed process. Additionally, the fund will support preventive interventions. That's where the linkage between OSH comes in, for helping to reduce workplace accidents and the occupational hazards. So what is the role of the multi-stakeholder collaboration? So we need to have a multi-stakeholder collaboration. So the collaboration among government, workers, civil society, and development partners is critical for the scheme's effectiveness. This will ensure inclusive policy making and that the scheme reflects the needs of all stakeholders, especially vulnerable groups like the informal and agricultural workers. So the formal and the agricultural workers forms a very big chunk of workers in Malawi. Stakeholders such as the employers, workers, organizations are key to strengthen strategic oversight and the governance structures such as the Workers' Compensation Board. These will promote transparency, accountability, and shared ownership of the scheme. Employers, workers, organizations, and civil society will help raise awareness about workers' rights and the scheme benefits to enhance compliance, public support, and participation among informal sector actors. And finally, partnership with the Global Accelerator provides technical support and capacity building on establishment and implementation of the workers' compensation scheme to help improve administrative efficiency and the service delivery. So what are the contributions to just transitions? So we think that a well-established workers' compensation scheme will provide income security, rehabilitation, and the long-term compensation, potentially empowering workers to adapt to emerging opportunity in new sectors. And they will also potentially contribute to just transition by protecting workers affected by economic and structural shifts. So there'll be a swift transition or a smooth transition if there are going to be changes in the structure of work.
Mr. Arthur,
like,
if
hello?
we're
Yes?
going a little bit over time, if we can conclude in 1 minute so that we have also time for our other speakers and the Q&A, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so the workers' promotion rehabilitation schemes can also be linked to training and reskilling. It can also be linked to can also be linked to promoting social justice and income stability, where it also help reduce vulnerability. And maybe one of the most important features is the extension to informal and agricultural workers. You know, Malawi, the formal workers form 89% of the workforce. So if we extend our system to the informal sector, I think we're going to cover a lot of workers. So the Current Workers Promotion Act excludes the casual and informal workers, many of whom are employed in agriculture. So the Current Workers Commission reforms propose progressive extension of the workers' compensation scheme to the informal economy workers through policy reforms aligned with the relevant dialogue conventions, innovative financing mechanisms and resource models, and integration with agricultural extension services and labor inspections to advance decent work in agriculture sector and the rural development, rural employment. I think I should stop there. Thank you for listening. This is what we have to report. Had to report from Malawi. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ntandika. We're delighted to hear the progress in Nepal in regarding to the setting up of the Workers' Compensation Fund and scheme, and we very much look forward for the integration of the fund with occupational safety measures, and also the working as one of the avenues to support formalization in the country, which, as you rightly said, is a very challenging endeavor, which requires integrated policy approach to be effective. And also very interesting the knowledge sharing that took place with Zambia that you shared, which is very much on the spirit of the Global Accelerator, and of course of the socialprotection.org in terms of fostering mutual learning and sharing between countries. So thank you so much, Mr. Arthur. Next, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Khurshid Zafari. Mr. Zafari is the Director of Social Policy Lab at the National Agency for Social Protection in Uzbekistan. Uzbekistan has finalized its Global Accelerator national roadmap as well, and you have organized the roadmap by 4 transitions that government, social partners, CSOs, and other stakeholders have identified as the most pressing ones to Uzbekistan. As part of the Global Accelerator roadmap, you have been working on strengthening social protection systems, including through the extension of social protection to informal and migrant workers through the full implementation of the social insurance law, particularly by extending protection for maternity, sickness, and unemployment benefits, and through pension reform. Can you tell us where you stand in these very complex and difficult reforms, Mr. Khurshid? And how do you see these reforms contributing towards more decent jobs and ensuring that the current ongoing transitions in Uzbekistan are just and inclusive? Over to you, Mr. Khurshid.
Thank you very much, Andre, for this comprehensive introduction, and thank you to all participants who are joining this webinar. Let me share the experience of Uzbekistan on how we came to the point to this point. So, as you know, Uzbekistan joined Global Accelerator in 2023 when the president of Uzbekistan announced its participation in the General Assembly in New York. And at that year, National Coordination Committee was established, and in close collaboration with international development partners, we started a consultative process in identifying entry points for GA activities in Uzbekistan. And Uzbekistan, like any other country in the world, is undergoing changes due to these massive mega trends that are affecting everyday life globally. And we try to address those changes via GA activities and actually in Uzbekistan there are already strategic documents that that tackle those issues, and therefore the GA roadmap is tightly aligned with strategic documents in Uzbekistan, and we came up with 4 strategic entry points, which are also developed around 4 transition pathways. So for Uzbekistan, GE is about just green transition, just digital transition, just formalization and inclusion, which is cross-sectoral. And how we see Global Accelerator as a good opportunity to test integrated approaches where social protection and employment and active labor market policies can be provided together. And we see that these pathfinder countries were chosen to test those approaches, which have a potential to be scaled up across the countries. And also, as a requirement of the GE was to select industries where this kind of approaches can be tested. So for the first projects, we have identified several sectors of the economy where we are testing different innovative approaches. So now, as a result of this roadmap, by the way, as Valerie mentioned, we are also using this roadmap as a document to guide discussions with other development partners on where they can contribute. So it is like a wish list for all interventions that could be addressed together with within international projects. So now we have 3 projects: 1 Global Accelerator project and 2 MGA, which is multi-stakeholder Global Accelerator, which also includes the World Bank. So the first project, which is on formalization, addresses issues like occupational and safety compliance issues in construction sector, creation of care corps, economic empowerment of women, and also addressing barriers to social assistance beyond methodological or beyond targeting systems. So this project is being jointly implemented by UNDP, UNICEF, ILO, and UN Women. One of the advantages of GA, as was put in the very beginning, and as Andrea also mentioned, it pinpoints multi-stakeholder collaboration, and it requires collaboration and coordination from the national side, because activities that we are introducing should be coordinated closely. Therefore, we are now collaborating with the Ministry of Economy and Finance, Ministry of Employment and Poverty Reduction, National Agency for Social Protection, and other, like Ministry of Construction, when it comes to activities in the construction sector, and other relevant ministries. And also, these projects require close collaboration and coordination from the development partner side, because the outputs that are outlined in the project documents are jointly implemented by several UN organizations, participating UN organizations. So because this formalization requires interdisciplinary approach. For example, UNDP, for example, is developing a mobile app to formalize relationships between buyer and seller. And what else? And ILO is conducting research on the barriers on extension of social securities to the informal sector. So this is all about GA, but we also have MGA projects, which also address specifically social insurance. And as Andrei already mentioned, Uzbekistan is now on the brink of adopting the law on social insurance, and the law has passed through the parliament, and now it is on the table of the president to be signed. And once it's signed, it will set the new system of social insurance. And under this project, ILO, for example, is supporting by conducting actuarial assessments on maternity, on unemployment, and sickness. So this is, I think I already reached my time limit. Therefore, I'll stop here. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer afterwards. Thank you. Andrei, please.
Thank you, Mrs. Zafari. This is, and thank you for sharing the rationale and the thinking behind the process of the roadmap of Uzbekistan, and how you're using it as a guidelines or guides for strengthening and streamlining cooperation and partnerships around development, and also how some of the key leverage points and some of the priority points, such as formalization of the informal economy, is a big challenge that requires action from different actors and action from different angles, and that would ultimately contribute to all transitions related in the Uzbekistan national roadmap. And I think I can speak from everyone here that we very much look forward to see how this progresses and to see the continuous success of the reforms in Uzbekistan. Thank you so much. As Mr. Khurshid mentioned, please feel free to add your questions on the Q&A box. We will have after our next panelists, we'll have time for discussion some of the questions, and I'm sure from the presentations from Mr. Arthur, from Mr. Khurshid, you already have some questions in your mind. So please feel free to ask questions there. Moving on, the Global Accelerator is an initiative rooted in social dialogue, as Valerie has highlighted, which requires the participation of employers' representatives and workers' representatives in the design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of policy measures. This ensures that political decisions regarding the world of work are made with involvement of all key stakeholders, and make sure that the voices of workers, employers are heard and taken into account into policy reform. Employers are indeed one of the key stakeholders in social dialogue. They are responsible for creating jobs, know which skills are needed for growth and economic development, and make crucial contributions to social security systems. I would like then to invite Mr. Nazar Ali, Secretary General of the Employers Federation of Pakistan, to give his points of view. And if you can tell us, Mr. Ali, how do you see the potential of the Global Accelerator to improve sustainability of the national social protection system in Pakistan, since the Global Accelerator process in Pakistan is still in its early stages? And how do you see the role of the Employers Federation as part of this process? So, Mr. Nazar Ali, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. Distinguished parliament panelists, hello to everyone. Good morning to everyone connected across the globe from Karachi, Pakistan. I would like to begin by expressing my gratitude to ILO and other partners for organizing this webinar on a very important topic of expanding social protection through policy integration, strategic financing, and enhanced collaborations. I'm sure the webinar will increase the understanding and knowledge of the participants in understanding the initiative and the positive contribution of these initiatives in the pathfinder countries. Ladies and gentlemen, social protection is a fundamental right and is important for poverty reduction and sustainable economic development. However, despite of significant progress in very dimension of social development during the last few decades, yet more than 47% population is not covered under any form of a social protection. And the conditions in the developing countries is more challenging. This massive social gap is not acceptable from perspective of the human rights and Agenda 2030 of sustainable development based on the principles of leaving no one behind. Globally, ILO recommend universal social protection where every person enjoys access to health and insurance. The Global Accelerator program on jobs and social protection for just transitions, established in 2021 by the UN Secretary General, provides support to pathfinder countries through technical assistance, capacity building, and analytic funding to design and implement integrated national policies and financial strategies to strengthen the national social protection systems. Since the initiatives provide support to the countries as per its specific requirements and need, the initiative is in a well position and has a great potential of strengthening the social protection system and sustainability of the system in the pathfinder countries by providing technical expertise, support in building the capacity of the countries to develop and implement country-specific policies, financial strategies, and developing collaboration with UN system to leverage funding through different channels. Well, talking about Pakistan, Pakistan badly lacks in providing social protection floor and system containing basic security and income security. With more than 40% people living below the poverty line and with weak social protection system, Pakistan is faced with the serious challenges of poverty and vulnerability. Though the government has initiated number of policies and programs to cover the vulnerability of the population through income support, and then there are programs for the social protection of the civil servant in pension and health insurance, and there are a number of other NGOs who are providing, working on education and all other areas to support the population. Yet all these programs are highly fragmented and incomplete, and majority of the population is outside the coverage. The system has significant gaps in coverage, affordability, and effectability. Ladies and gentlemen, by strengthening in social protection system, Pakistan can boost its human capital, enhance productivity, and improve resilience and pave the way for inclusive economic development. However, this would require collective efforts of all the stakeholders and essentially the funding of support from the international partners. Pakistan officially joined Global Accelerator on Jobs and Social Protection for Just Transition in July 24. And to leverage Global Accelerator support and collaboration with the UN system to improve social protection coverage, create decent jobs for both men and women, and build resilient economy. Pakistan, though, has not yet received any specific funding under the project, but however, the government is, with the support of the UN, is in the process of developing national roadmap and identifying entry points for formalizing the informal economy, employment opportunities, and social protection. Global Accelerator support can help Pakistan to develop integrated policies, financial strategies to align domestic investment with national priorities and improve social protection systems, beside benefiting from the experience and knowledge sharing of the other countries. The system can help the existing and new programs with a uniform framework ensuring better coordinations, maximum effectiveness, and strengthening national institutions responsible for the social protection. The employers being the important stakeholders had an important role in promoting universal social protection systems, uh, as the social protection also have a positive impact on the businesses. The Employers Federation of Pakistan, which is a leading organization in Pakistan, leading the private sector, is playing a key role in advancing the objective of Global Accelerator and on job and social protection for just transition in Pakistan. EFP is leading the private sector in driving reforms in sectors that address key national priorities, including removing decent work deficit, promoting gender equality, skilling of youth, formalization of SMEs, and improving social protection to all workers. Promoting decent work and protection and social protection is central to EFP growth strategy, and EFP is at the forefront of promoting FBRW and advancing sustainable development goal to realize decent work for all. The key initiative of the EFP for promoting decent work and strengthening the social protection include establishment of Pakistan Network for Social Protection, aimed at mobilizing the private sector support to enhance social protection system. EFP conducts awareness raising and campaigns, capacity building programs for employers across the country to enhance their understanding on the importance of the social protection, social security, and the sustainability of their enterprises and better coverage of this scheme. EFP is engaged in a policy dialogue with the government, both provincial and federal government, and facilitating bipartite and tripartite forum to stakeholders to develop recommendations to improve the governance and services of the social protection institutions. Social protection institutions. Pakistan, the promoting gender equality and the elimination of discrimination in the workplace is central to EFP activities. EFP facilitated the establishment of Women Development Network to promote diversity and inclusion in the workplace. The network is working to increasing women participation in the labor force and ensuring businesses adopt responsible business practices, including friendly family policies, maternity and paternity leave, flexible working hours. EFP has also developed its gender equality policy guideline and creating awareness among the employers and building the capacity of the employers to adopt these guidelines or internalize these guidelines into their operations. EFP attach high priority to safety, and that's why safety and regularly conducting occupational safety and capacity building programs on occupational safety and helping organization to adopt best practices and promoting this system. In addition to that, EFP is working on a business and human rights to build the capacity of employers to work to have a due diligence system in eliminating the violation of the labor laws, the labor standards. EFP has just started a project for creating awareness and capacity building of the employers on just transition and climate action and adopting responsible business practices. We have established Pakistan Business Task Force on United Nations Sustainable Development Corporations to advancing SDGs and portray the work of the private sector with the UNRC and increasing engagement of private sector in the development of this framework. I will conclude with this. The mandate and activities of the EFPs are in line with the objective of the Global Accelerator programs. And by engaging the stakeholders in the activities of the Global Accelerator in different countries, we can add value and increase the efficiency and effectiveness of the implementation of these supports and global action programs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nazar. This was very, very interesting remarks, particularly the linkages you made between the responsibility of employers on ensuring the decent work and compliance with the labor laws, but very importantly, the linkages between social protection and the respect of human rights, and how the Global Accelerator can support this. Employers are clearly key actors in the achievement of universal social protection, and you also benefit a lot from when social protection policies are well implemented and effective, not only by protecting your employees, but also by supporting inclusive growth of the economy. The private sector role in financing social protection is also very, very important, and we really look forward for your engagement in the process of roadmap in Pakistan.
Sure.
Similarly to employers, workers representatives are a key part of social dialogue. Not including them in reforms necessary to achieve decent jobs and universal social protection will hamper the progress towards sustainable development. For example, in transitions away from fossil fuels may run the risk of causing unemployment in specific sectors or geographic areas, and involving workers' representatives in the reform process can ensure that workers have access to support to do the reskilling necessary to transition to another industry, and also access to social protection to support them in this transition, which is indispensable for reducing inequality, preventing poverty, and maintaining social stability. I would like to give the floor to Mr. Mahongora Kavihua. You are the Secretary General of the Trade Union Congress of Namibia. How do you see the potential of the Global Accelerator for the extension of social protection coverage and improvement of workers' rights in Namibia? How do you see the development of the Global Accelerator there supporting this process? And how do you see the potential of the Global Accelerator in supporting strengthened cooperation between the various actors in the sectors of action of the Global Accelerator in the country? Mr. Kavihua, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the listeners and the participants of this one. I hope that have then seen me, how I look like. I want to switch off my camera for possible better connection. So that is, I'm going to do it. At least you have seen me. Yeah, Namibia became pathfinder country of Global Accelerator in July 2023. Namibia is currently working on finalizing the Global Accelerator roadmap, which we're expecting it to be finalized by January 2026. The roadmap has 4 strategic pillars: coordination of employment creation, youth employment in entrepreneurship, expansion of social protection coverage, and the 4th one is facilitations of transition from informal to formal economy. We currently have received catalytic funding to support policy action focused on enabling environment and financing for decent job creation and social protection systems strengthening. Importantly, sectorial demonstration initiatives were initiated showcasing what we need to be done differently to create jobs for young people. 2 very important programs have been launched. A joint program on the agri-system transformation through biomass processing for the decent job creation and expansion of social protection. The joint program is funded through a joint SDG funds high impact track with a contribution from the government of Namibia and participating UN agencies. The joint program, with a budget of $3,762,000 USD, is implemented by FAO, which is a Food and Agriculture Organization, ILO as a coordinating agency, and UNDP from January 2025 to December 2026. A second joint program on the strengthening social protection system and employment programs for resilience and inclusive Namibian aims to modernize and digitalize social assistance system, expand decent employment opportunities, and strengthening institutional capacity for integrated social protections and employment policies. This joint program have a budget of $1,520,000 USD. Is being implemented by ILO, UNICEF as a coordinating agency, and the World Bank. Is targeted to start or started already from September 2025 to August 2027. The 2 initiatives continue to benefit from the leadership and guidance of the United Nations Resident Coordinator. of course, together with many more role players. The program management team is now in place in each of the UN agencies named above, having technical officers assigned to it, also supported by stakeholders committees. The governance framework of global accelerators that reflect a whole of society approach for job and social protections. It comprises of one is a tracker plus high level. These structures is co-chaired by the ministers of finance, justice and labor relations, and a director general of National Planning Commission. The second layer of governance is a steering committee that is co-chaired by the Ministry of Justice and Labor Relations and the UN Resident Coordinator, where also stakeholders, including trade unions, are part and parcel of it. The third layer of governance is a Namibian National Global Accelerator Team, which we call it NGAT in short. A technical experts from government, UN agency, employer trade unions, and civil societies, and academia are forming part of this structure. Of course, under NGAT, there are subcommittees that are specific to each of the 4 pillars that I mentioned earlier. Now, among these, I'm only going to mention 3 that have relevancy to our discussion. One that have already taken place is a review of national legislation in relation to the international social security standards embedded in the Social Security Minimum Standards Convention number 102, because we are trying to amend the Social Security Act so that it can include those key elements that are reflected in that convention, and also supporting the issues of ratifications of the convention, as said earlier. 2 days ago, we have launched also an in-depth diagnostic report on informality in Namibia, which was conducted in a partnership with the UN, the government, and also the committee that was heading this one also included trade unions and employer organizations. This showed a very good statistical information that will assist us to deal with the 4 pillars of our roadmap, which is about transforming informality to formality. And I want to tell you that this report has revealed that informal sectors contribute close to 25% to GDP, which is 12% more than what the mining contribute. Informality in Namibia account for close to 28% of employment. Informality in agriculture, which the agent of biomass is contributing to agriculture, forestry, and fishing, is contributing around 88%. Now that shows already that how informalities, and it also giving us a springboard when we are dealing with the issues of transforming, informality to formality, or transitioning from informality to formality. The third important one is the employment impact assessment, which we have launched or busy with in a green hydrogen sector, and also to ensure that the employment impact assessment is streamlined and institutionalized in all major policies that are implemented, or major projects that are implemented in Namibia. Now, all these good things will not be, a smooth ceiling. There was challenges and there's still challenges. The Global Accelerator in Namibia has faced some implementation delays. These delays are therefore less a sign of weaknesses, but more a reflection of inclusive and whole government, whole UN, and whole stakeholders approach that Accelerator promote. Importantly, a high-level political commitment remains firm. Mechanisms for coordinations are now fully in place, and progress in the last 4 months, I can confirm that progress in the last 4 months have been realized. Signal that momentum is building. With a stronger alignment now achieved, a groundwork is laid, and accelerations for delivery is being observed. But for what is disappointing for trade union, ourselves, especially on the component of social protections, we were looking at implementations and realizations of the National Pension Fund, of which the progress that were made when it comes to social protections is mainly on social security. So that is still a thorn in the flesh for the workers, because we want a comprehensive a national pension fund coupled with a universal basic income grant for us to realize the full objectives of the Global Accelerator. Let me stop here and save time for you, and I'll come back if there is further questions. I submit.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mahongora. This was very insightful intervention on the process and the different structures and the stakeholders involved in the Global Accelerator in Namibia. And we appreciate you highlighting the report on informality that you mentioned, and highlighting the importance of evidence to inform the key issues to tackle such complex issues such as informality. And also for highlighting how the workers can play a key role in helping ensuring that development reform is leaving no one behind, and that your voices and contributions are indispensable for building social protection systems that work that work to ensure inclusion and fairness to all, and that financing is equitable. I would like then to move to our next speaker. Effective social protection systems cover populations across the life cycle, providing coverage to all, including persons with beyond those represented by the social partners. For example, children, other groups outside the labor force. Complementing the perspective of social partners, employers and workers, civil society organizations are key partners in the Global Accelerator. Mr. Serafin Gazol, you are the Executive Secretary of the Inspire Zamuka in Rwanda, a network of 11 member organizations engaged in the field of social protection and decent work. Inspire stands for International Network for Social Protection Rights and is a member of the Global Coalition for Social Protection Floors. The network was established in 2012. The coalition now includes more than 100 NGOs and trade unions, and actively engaged in advocacy and dialogue to support national level efforts to achieve universal social protection in several countries. Mr. Gazor, how do you see the potential of Global Accelerator to strengthen social protection systems and include those that are currently excluded, which, as was highlighted by some of our speakers, is still a very substantial share of the population, and particularly even more challenging situation in developing countries. Over to you, Mr. Serafin. The floor is yours.
Thank you, dear moderator, dear listeners, distinguished panelists. I would like, before to express my appreciation to all, to the ILO to have organized this important webinar. As said, I represent here the Global Coalition for Social Protection Flows Assessors Coalition. I talk today about the potential of the Global Accelerator to strengthen social protection systems and include those currently excluded, as a Rwandan case, the country where I am. And Rwanda is one of the 18 pathfinder countries of the Global Accelerator since almost 2 years. Starting by the first pillar of the Global Accelerator, in Rwanda, the CSOs contributed and participated actively and continue to do so in designing, implementing, monitoring, and evaluating integrated and coordinated policies and programs related to social protection and decent employment. These are many policies and programs like the National Skills and Employment Strategy, the National Social Protection Policy, the National Employment Policy, the Decent Work Country Program, the National Old People Policy, the Direct Support Program, the Public Works Program, the Vision Murenge Program, the One Car, One Family Program, the National Child Development Program, the School Feeding Program, the Labor Inspection Services, and the National Roadmap in the Global Accelerators Framework, etc. All of them elaborate on different but close issues with same cross-cutting thematics like childhood, women, youth, people with disabilities, all people, transition of informal economy towards formal economy, etc. With that global accelerators approach, the social protection system are strengthened in Rwanda with the aim of leaving no one behind. With the second pillar, by advocacy and active participation, the CSOs in Rwanda contributed to raise the funds allocated to the community-based health insurance, mutuelle de santé, that is legally compulsory to almost 80% of the whole population. All registered employees with salary, fines paid by guilty motorized road users, communication companies with the huge benefits and the other sources of fund contribute significantly to that community-based health insurance fund. The public financing has been also raised. Now, more than 1,000 medical products are delivered, including those that most people couldn't afford because they are expensive, like kidney treatment, cancer treatment, surgery, and others. Public funds have also been increased for other social protection programs like the National Child Development Program, the Direct Support Program for old people, the Model Village Program for those who do not have shelter, the formalization of the informal economy, etc. Beneficiaries are associated, and it's well understood that everyone has not only rights, but also duties. Concerning the third pillar, CSOs advocate for enhanced international cooperation that is beneficial to all countries. The Global Coalition for Social Protection Flows is very active in advocating for an international cooperation that is proactive and brings adequate solutions to the actual and huge challenges facing the world, including social protection and decent employment deficits. As well started recently at the Global Economic Forum by Jan van Vettel, the Director General of Enabel from Belgium, international cooperation for development is not just about capital. It's also and mostly about courage, clarity, and collaboration. With that global accelerator's way of doing things, no one will be left behind, and the world shall be more inclusive, fair, and peaceful, a better place to live for everyone. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gasor. And thank you so much for highlighting the potential you see on the Global Accelerator and for giving us concrete examples of how civil society is engaging on development processes and extension of social protection in Rwanda and in other places. It is very important to include civil society in this processes of policy reform to make sure that we are reaching and listening to the voices of all the excluded population. So thank you very much for your remarks. After these very interesting remarks by our panelists, we would like to open the floor if we have anyone from the audience that would like to pose a question to our panelists. Unfortunately, we are running a bit late, so we won't have time to take many questions. But if there is anyone with a burning question that you would like to pose to one of our speakers, please raise your hand, and we can try to give you the floor. If there is anyone with any burning questions. If not, and I see that we have a question for Malawi in the chat, and Mr. Arthur will try to answer that in the chat itself. I would like to ask our colleague Arthur, actually, if you can come in for 2 minutes and give a brief overview of how the Workers' Compensation Act that is being discussed in Malawi, how it will how the funding for compensation benefits will work, moving from the employer's liability into insurance-based, and how the workers' organization have been involved on this. If you can come quickly for 2 minutes on this question, Arthur, we will appreciate your additional inputs.
Hi, Andre.
Hi, Arthur, we can hear you.
Can you repeat the first part of the question?
How the new structure for funding of the workers' compensation scheme will work under the new act.
All right.
Moving from the employer's liability into insurance-based.
All right, thank you. In fact, the new act, what we will do is the scope and the coverage, I think, will be increased. In the current act, I think there are certain categories of employers who are not included, including some government officials. So I think the new act, what it has done is to encompass everybody, including the government. So it's like the funding will come from contributions of government, parastatals, and the private companies, encompassing, I think, almost all employers. This is just covering the formal sector, formal employment. But the new act would also like to give a room for the informal sector to join the scheme voluntarily. So it's like a way of for formalizing the informal. But it's as it is now, it's not it's for the informal sector. I think it will be in the first years. It will be not compulsory, but voluntary. But the structure is there. Almost all employers will be covered by the new act, including government and the parastatal organizations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arthur, and thank you for highlighting as well how the new act will ensure the coverage of the groups that are not covered, and particularly the workers in the informal sector. Thank you so much. We have one hand from the audience, which I can only see as David. David, could you come in? We'll open your mic if you can come in for your question, but I would ask you if you can be quite brief with the questions since we're running out of time. Please, David, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll be very brief. Mine is to Valerie Smith, but let me thank all for the good presentation. Mine is to Valerie Smith with regard to the financing strategy. How does it work? The roadmap should be aligned. I mean, should be costed and aligned to the financing strategy, or does it mean that one has to develop the roadmap, and after the roadmap has been developed, then the financing strategy to be developed for the implementation of the roadmap, or which one should come first? Because some of the understanding is that the costed activity in the roadmap should be aligned with the financing strategy. But from the presentation from Valerie, as if it says have a roadmap, and then once the roadmap is finalized, then develop a financing strategy. I just want to have that understanding. And if we can be shared with a copy of the roadmap for Malawi and Pakistan, please. I think we'll appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Unfortunately, Valerie had to leave the call as as she mentioned, she's in Guinea, and they are having a workshop there with the Global Accelerator. But I can try to answer on her behalf as I work very closely with many of the countries on their financing strategies. And your question is a very good one. It's a bit of a chicken and egg problem, at which the financing strategy and the roadmap, they can be developed in parallel, because in the end of the day, finding which are the key priorities and how to leverage them for the maximum impact would also require some level of cost-benefit analysis between the different policy options. And with the roadmap, the different types of intervention will require different types of financing strategies or financing mechanisms. So on the design of the roadmap, having in mind what types of the financing framework and financing mechanisms that can be behind each of the key pillars of the key priority actions is very important. Some actions will be able to be supported through public financing, through general government budget. Others will require contributory schemes to be scaled up to finance social protection, while other types of actions may require additional investments from international investors, from development banks, or from the private sector itself. And others will require some macroeconomic measures. So the process is a bit of a parallel process that needs to happen, but each country is implementing in its own way that makes sense to their own context. And regarding the roadmaps, we posted in the chat the link to the Global Accelerator webpage. All the roadmaps that are finalized and published already are already in our webpage, so you can find it there. Pakistan is still in the process of developing theirs, so hopefully soon their roadmap will be posted too. Thank you very much for the participation of all. We're moving now for the closing of our session. But before we wrap up, we would like to hear again from you all what were the key messages that you took from this session. So we have a Mentimeter here where we're going to be asking you, what are the 3 words that sum up the most important points that you learned today? You can either scan the QR code that is in the screen now, or you can open the mentimeter.com and introduce the code that is in the bottom here to access and answer very quickly this question. What are the 3 words that sum up the most important points of this session to you? We'll give you 1 minute to go over there and add your inputs, while we can have a quick look on the word cloud of the thoughts, of the collective thoughts about and conclusions about this session. Our colleagues also posted in the chat the link for the Menti. If you are having trouble with the QR code or the access, you can just click on the link and you'll go directly to the question. Please, let's everybody put our thoughts there. And if our colleagues thank you very much for showing us what is the results that we're seeing. Sustainable is definitely what we want to see. Sustainability from the interventions, sustainability through the integration of policies. See a lot on formalization, which all panelists have highlighted the importance of tackling informality, the importance of financing, coordination, social justice. can give a couple of a few more seconds for the last ones to enter their inputs. But while colleagues finalize entering their words, sustainable seems to be easily the favorite of our audience today, and I think it's very much aligned with the objectives of the Global Accelerator. So as we think, I think nobody else is going to put more input, so I would move towards closing our event today. I would like to thank you very much to all the speakers that joined us today and for sharing your knowledge and experience. It was a pleasure to listen to you. We heard some very interesting experiences, and I think it's very clear that the linkages between social protection, employment, and skills policies are very strong in all the countries we listened to. It's also became very clear that the ongoing work contributes directly to ensuring that the transitions in the countries are just for all the people. We also heard how workers and employers representatives contribute to these efforts, and it's clear that it's not possible to advance on strengthening social protection systems without them. Complementing this, we also heard from the civil society how they can help ensure that the whole population, including those that are not in the labor market, are included and benefiting from these policy reforms. I would also like to point out that last week, the Global Accelerator hosted a social solution session of the Second World Summit for Social Development. As you know, the Global Accelerator is one of the very few initiatives that is explicitly named on the outcome declaration of the World Social Development Summit, and is a vehicle to support the complete implementation of that outcome declaration. The great news is that you can watch the solutions session online. I have put the link in the chat, so please find it there if you want to listen to it. I really recommend it. It's super interesting, as we heard very interesting interventions from Albania, Senegal, and Indonesia, as well from many of other partners like the government of Spain, the European Union, the AFD, and the World Bank. And I would like to also repeat that if you like to keep in touch with the Global Accelerator, you can sign up to our newsletter, and you can also find the link in the chat, and you will regularly receive latest updated progress on Pathfinder countries straight to your inbox. I would also like to remind and thank socialprotection.org for hosting this event today, and remind you that you can click on the QR code in the screen to become a member of socialprotection.org. And in the website, you can have a survey on how socialprotection.org can improve their services and support us all, the community around social protection and practitioners around the world, how the platform can support us as well. So with that, I would like to thank you all again, the speakers, and of course, everyone in the audience who listened and who participated on this session, and made this a great success. Thank you very much, and I wish you all a great rest of the day, wherever you are. Thank you so much, and hope to see you soon in another occasion. Goodbye.